Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
It's Yuri Bezmenov, KGB agent, defector, who came to the United States and told us in 1984 that this had been going on for 3 generations, starting with elementary school, teaching our children that having something was wrong and that giving it away was right, and inserting a secular view of community rather than a holistic one. And this is how you wind up with the riots like they had in Portland, failing as they were to have this great nationwide shutdown on Friday. They gathered outside of an ICE facility in Portland, Oregon, and started aggressively approaching the ICE officers, attempting to disperse the crowd, used tear gas. Now, the news coverage that you'll see talks about how the ICE officers tear gassed young children, some so young they were in strollers.
There were parents, kids. I saw one kid in a stroller with a little helmet on, and we were all marching down the street towards the building to protest.
See, this is how the ideological subversion works. Nobody stops and says, or if you do, like us, you're a ghoul for asking, why did you bring a toddler to an event like this? What were you bringing your children to this to be other than fodder for the news media to say, oh, my gosh, they tear gas children. Why did the parents bring children to an event that would bring tear gas out? And understand, I will be the first one to tell you that these officers are in incredibly stressful situations. But we need to work very hard at not falling prey to the bait and switch. In hockey, there's an expression. It's called a goon. Have you ever heard, maybe your favorite hockey team has a goon? It's somebody who has hundreds of penalty minutes and maybe a goal or two. Their whole purpose in the game is to go after the other team's best player and harass them and annoy them and frustrate them to the point where they drop the gloves and both their best player and your goon get 5-minute fighting majors. And now their best player is off the ice for 5 minutes. That's what these people in Portland are. They are the goons who come into the corner and start getting you with a stick in the kidneys until you turn around and you drop the gloves. And I'm not saying the ICE officers were not justified in trying to disperse the crowd with tear gas, but this is why the agitators brought children in strollers to this. And there are other groups on the planet, perhaps you've heard of some of them, that hide behind children. Kareem wrote a great essay quoting Golda Meir earlier, texting us at 434-882-4217, because you know most of these groups who hide behind children are by their names like Hamas and Hezbollah. We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with the Arabs when they love their children more than they hate us. And what we're facing is a group of agitators, many of them in the same group that would go out and protest on behalf of Hamas and Hezbollah and other quote-unquote marginalized communities. It's still, to me, one of the great moments in marketing is how you can rebrand Hamas as a marginalized community. But in any event, that's who hides behind children. Just like this group in Portland hid behind children as they protested there. And it was designed to take your eye away from the fact that their quote-unquote nationwide shut down protest went, "Mwah." Nobody showed up. I think 12 people showed up in Harrisonburg and marched up and down in front of stores that were still open, hollering at them, berating them, most of them sitting there saying, I just need to sell sandwiches. But the ideological subversion has been so thorough in this group. And understand that Marxism, socialism in general, requires there to be a class warfare. And so the best way to get these agitator groups together is to convince them that they are fighting on behalf of an underclass that just wants the opportunity to come and clean up our dishes after we leave the restaurant. They want to be seen as caring, but they're missing the holistic view of what caring looks like. If you get somebody away from the crowd, and you have to do this the hard way, you can't go up to these folks when they're in this frenzy, this almost Manson-like frenzy of chanting and hey, hey, ho, ho, ICE officers got to go. And when they're in this dark zen, you can't talk to them because they're just quoting, hey, hey, ho, ho, you get them away from it, and maybe you're having a cup of tea, and somebody says, hey, I was at that thing, and you're like, okay, so how many folks have you hired at your job that are non-citizens? Oh, no, we don't do that. I mean, we want them to have an opportunity, but I mean, I can't hire them. Or if they do, they're low-paid, low-wage staff in some position that these activists, these agitators, don't want to pay more for. So the faux concern that they're presenting, the virtue signaling that they're engaging in, has to be called out, and it's being distracted away under the news headlines of, oh, the ICE officers tear-gassed children in strollers. Their parents were the ones that brought them there. The parents said, hey, let's pack up Junior, get some sippy cups, and head down to the ICE detention center for a picnic. But it's the ICE officers' fault for tear-gassing their parents.